You're listening to the RMPodcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
The word is timid. That's right, guys. I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
And
Keith Cheatham.
coming back to you live with another fantastic episode here on the Red Moon Podcast. And yes, just like last week, we are continuing once again with a new movie that has come out. Tenet.
Huh.
Yes.
We have been waiting for this movie.
When?
When?
Yeah.
When?
What do you mean when?
When did we wait?
It's not about when.
In the past.
Exactly. It's about how. It's been a long time coming, everybody. And finally, something that was definitely worth watching in a theater.
Yeah.
We were excited and happy to be back in the theater last week with New Mutants, but it did not at all exceed our expectations.
The theater going experience was definitely way better this time.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Other than the guy getting a little snippy with us because we wanted butter.
Yeah,
but-
I think we...
It's like you do not ask for extra butter. Do not do it.
Or napkins.
Yeah.
Yeah, napkins were a real problem too.
He's like, I gotta get y'all napkins. Well, they're not out here.
Well, exactly. It's like when you got to hand them to us, it's like you'd think you'd give us more than one napkin for a tired tub of popcorn.
It's like, yeah,
ridiculous.
I know.
we used our free large popcorn.
Our birthday, all of our birthdays
Yeah.
came in a row, and they were just waiting in the queue, ready for us to be used. And
Yep.
sure enough,
It
we
was
used them.
delicious.
So you used the free large tub of popcorn, and it's a huge tub, and it's like he gives us one little thing of butter and one napkin, and we're like, can we get more butter and more napkin?
Yeah.
And he's just like, and
Sure.
granted, it wasn't like last week where we were so busy that like he like couldn't keep up.
Yeah,
like,
no.
It was Labor Day weekend plus Derby here in Kentucky, so they were actually very
There was
empty at the
nobody
theater.
There
yeah.
was nobody.
So like
I was kind of surprised.
he had no one to
Yeah.
deal with but us, but he was still kind of aggravated that we wanted more than one napkin.
Well, and
or
I
more
think
than
also
one
what
cup of butter.
aggravated me was because we got over there, and Sean and I by this time were getting our drinks.
Yeah.
So Keith comes up right behind us, and like we had just literally got our second butter.
He just asked,
So then he
yeah.
asks you, and he was bringing us our napkins back.
Yeah.
So literally, we're asking for more napkins, and instead of just asking you, like, "Hey, do you want some napkins too?" He goes and gets
Yeah.
our napkins,
Yeah.
comes back, and then brings and he's like, "So what do you like? Do you need anything else?" And you're like, "Well, yeah, I need some napkins too." And he's
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and it's like you could have asked before you just walked away.
Or you saw there was three of us, you could have
Yeah.
just assumed it's like, I'm going to go ahead
I'm
and
gonna
grab
get-
extra
yeah.
napkins because this guy might need some too.
And then I was thinking, you know what? Forget it. We'll just get some paper towels from the bathroom. No, they didn't
that
have
was
any paper
empty.
towels in the bathroom.
Yeah, they're making sure everything is perfectly clean and safe for COVID, but you can't wash and dry your hands because there's no paper towels.
AMC, I'm sorry, but you're letting us down.
Oh,
Okay, the
This
movie.
particular theater.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can't speak for
Yeah.
all of them.
No,
honestly.
true, but this one is definitely
Kentucky
letting us
has like two.
down. Oh, where's that? Is Lexington the
There's
other
one in Newport.
Yeah.
I don't
Oh,
know
that's
about
right, up
Lexington.
north. Okay, well, I don't know. Maybe we'll drive up there one day and see if it's better.
See if it's any cleaner.
And watch it. He have like a twin.
Now, I
and
will
he's
say
up there
the
running that
AMC.
one.
I was going to say the AMC me and Brandon went to in Boston was really nice.
Well, of course
Yeah,
it was.
that was
I mean,
very
that
nice.
was
So-
what I wish all movie. I mean, it was like the Louisville Palace here.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
It was
Yeah.
gorgeous.
Well,
It was amazing.
the outside of the theaters. The inside were just normal theaters. But if
But
every
still.
theater could look like the Louisville Palace with like that blue ceiling
Yeah.
Yeah.
and the freaking art style of Greek
But I mean, I felt like the service and everything
gods,
was good
it
too.
would be amazing. Greek gods.
Wow.
Yeah. All right. I guess we've dogged on AMC enough.
Enough for now.
Are we ready to finally actually talk about the movie we saw? I mean,
Please.
we've all been waiting for this. Keith, why don't you set it up for us?
Here's my review of Tenet.
Ah, damn it. You got to give me more time to switch.
That's what I love about you.
While the Red Moon crew did finally get back to the theaters last week, the experience was less than stellar. Now the true wait for a full-fledged theater experience is over, because this week, the most anticipated film of the year is finally releasing. With hopes of it kickstarting cinemas riding high on its shoulders, I speak of Christopher Nolan's latest film, Tenet. It's safe to say that even without theater closures due to COVID, Tenet was already high on the list of movies people were most looking forward to in 2020. Any film released by Christopher Nolan is sure to be the year's biggest event, and for good reason. Nolan has, after all, delivered us some of the greatest cinematic works of modern times, all of which are specifically filmed to fully utilize the big screen and maximize on theater experience. With Nolan being relentless on Tenet releasing only in theaters as soon as possible, does Tenet live up to its hype as the film to reawaken the theater experience? Starring John David Washington, who literally plays the protagonist, as his character is referred to in the film, a CIA operative who is recruited by Tenet, a secret organization attempting to stop terrorists from the future. These terrorists have designed a way to invert objects' entropy, causing them to travel backwards in time. Their goal, through a partnership with present-day Russian oligarch Andrei Sater, portrayed by Kenneth Branagh, is to destroy the past, which may destroy reality or may cure global warming. The future is hoping for the later, and the present kind of expects the former. With all reality at risk, the protagonist, alongside Sater's wife, Kat, played by Elizabeth Debicki, and Neil, another Tenet operative played by Robert Pattinson, will travel backward and forward in time to stop Andre and save the world. If the story sounds a little convoluted, what Nolan film isn't? Where Nolan excels and always has is using a solid scientific base to set up his fictional films with pseudoscience jargon grounded in real-life theories. Nolan takes actual scientific ideas to create deep and rich film stories, such as Inception and Interstellar. For Tenet, Nolan even re-enlisted the help of physicist Kip Thorne, who had previously been a consultant for Interstellar, to help guide the science behind Tenet. Also, like Nolan's other films, Tenet doesn't lack for intriguing characters, solid acting performances, fun action, and spectacle. Yes, everything audiences love about Nolan films is still alive and present in Tenet. Outside of these praises, though, it should be noted that Tenet is not without flaws. No artist can always create mind-bending and revolutionary works, and while Tenet is still an incredible film, it does lack in certain ways Nolan's best films don't. While the film is grounded in real scientific theories and ideas, it is in no way explained as well as either Inception or Interstellar. Though dialogue is often drowned out by explosions and big effect noises, making it easy to miss key points of exposition, I can still safely say the science is used more of a catalyst for the plot than as something seamlessly integrated into the story. Half the fun of Nolan's previous Mindbenders was piecing out the story as you went along, getting key details on how things worked and having it all come together in the end. Tenet attempts to do this, but is never as concise or well polished. The movie is fun and the characters fun to watch, but even the emotional depth of the story isn't as compelling as what Nolan has done before. While there are plenty of great moments and the toxic relationship between Andre and Kat is crafted exceptionally well, other emotional aspects of the film just aren't as deep. And while they don't necessarily need to be to serve the story Tenet tells, it does make the film a little less impactful than Nolan's best works. Tenet takes a unique premise and gives us a new twist on action espionage films. Nolan's take on a spy thriller set through reverse time and science fiction is something you can only get from Nolan, and definitely worthy of reopening theaters. Having already raked in over $100 million in a world plagued by COVID, Tenet is proving that Nolan still crafts incredible films. Its only fault is that it's just not quite as deep or thought-provoking as Nolan's prior efforts. But still, a crumpled $100 bill is still a $100 bill. And Tenet, while not his best work, is still a Nolan film. I give Tenet 3 out of 4 stars.
3 out of 4 stars.
I just think it's funny that's like we're sitting here
We're
arguing about the movie during
well,
the review.
we're not arguing about the score.
No.
So we
just-
should probably clarify what our thoughts are, but we're still debating what the hell the movie was about.
As I said in my review, it's not a movie that is unlike, and I mentioned these two just because they're the most similar and also done much better, but Inception and Interstellar, unlike those, by the time you get to this movie, there isn't really a clear wrap up of everything that had happened. Like in Inception and Interstellar, even if you're confused by some of the science, it's still by the end of the movie you understand the point and what was going on, and you can go back and rewatch scenes and understand the science behind them after the fact. In Tenet, I didn't really get that. It was there's certain things that it's even if I look back at the scenes and even if I go online and read things, because everything I read from people online was not any more clear than what I took away from the movie.
We have quite a few viewers, so we may just want to go ahead and say that there's probably going to be spoilers.
Yeah.
We're definitely going to spoil
Well,
this
and
movie.
I'm trying to stay away from spoilers, but at the same time,
I was going to say,
don't
here's the
think
thing.
you
I'm going to try to stay
can.
away from spoilers, but even as we divulge and dig deeper, trust me, there's so much. I mean, it's a Nolan film.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
there is so much to take away and so much to unpack. I mean, we walked out of the theater already saying we want to see it again.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
not because we weren't entertained, but because one was it's hard to hear. Two,
Yeah, we'll get
it's
into
like we
that.
just want to actually understand it better.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel about any Nolan film. It's like your third viewing, you're already soaking in much more.
As an action film, it is extremely entertaining.
It is.
It has some of the best choreographed fights that I've
just-
seen in a long time.
It
and just the battle scene
Oh,
towards
yeah,
the end of the film
definitely.
was insane.
It just
Yeah.
really bugs me because this is like the first time I feel like I've walked out of a Nolan film completely confused, and I don't think it's because like, and I don't think it's because like I just didn't understand the science of it, because I felt like the science in Interstellar and Inception were both much more in
Right.
depth and much
Yeah.
more elaborate.
Yeah.
It was just that I felt like it wasn't as explained as well in this movie.
This one was a little bit more contrived.
yes,
Yeah.
This one was a little bit more like even in the idea of how Tenet comes to. Well, Tenet is really just that was the other disappointing thing is there is no big reveal with the word.
No.
And thankfully I'm kind of glad about that though. The movie is named that because that's kind of their secret word in their organization. And it's how you say the word to know like okay this person's in
And
conjunction
it's
with me.
also the same backwards and forwards.
Right,
It's
right.
a,
It's
palindrome.
a palindrome.
Yeah, palindrome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, thankfully, yeah. There's
have to do
not a lot you have to. Oh yeah, no, do
gesture.
do that where everything's connected.
I have a word and a gesture.
Uh,
Tenet. And I'm just like, okay.
Okay.
Great.
And then when they go on to explain the science behind it, there's literally a line where she simply says, "You don't have to understand it.
Yeah.
Just know it happens."
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
Yeah,
Well, you're
well.
blatantly telling me like,
Yeah.
don't think
Yeah,
too hard
don't
about
think-
it.
yeah.
Just know things are gonna run backwards.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, that's all I need to know. then.
Definitely. And like other than like the things running backwards, which made for some really cool visuals,
Yeah.
there were just times that like seemed to conflict with like the rules they had already set in place. Like I didn't even realize it until I was typing the review, but after the fact I was thinking about like when they tell him, you have to wear the face mask to breathe because your lungs will be inverted and you can't breathe like the air on the other side like when you're inverted. But then I was thinking, well, weren't there times when Andre, the main villain, was inverted and we never saw him wear a
Yes.
mask ever?
Well,
and I was like,
okay, and
was that a mess up because they
should
didn't
we
want to reveal?
should we try to? I mean, because this is starting to go into spoilery territory in the sense of kind of explaining some of the physics behind what he. Because here's the main thing.
Yeah.
There is a deliberate part in the movie where you've kind of you've seen the main characters interact with things that are running in reverse, or
Right.
it's reverse entropy is the science they use.
Yeah.
But they don't really go into too much depth until one pivotal moment in the movie where everything starts to the main character finally steps into that world of being in reverse.
Yeah.
And we step out into the world, and yet through his eyes, we see things happening in reverse, but also from that same perspective, he immediately then is shown like walking forward in time.
Mm-hmm.
And that was what I think was confusing for us was there were times where even the editing didn't properly portray the right perspective that I felt the movie was trying to show us.
Yeah.
And so there were times where I was like, okay, well, now we're seeing everything go back in time and how it affects what just happened in the present, which makes sense. But then there's times where the characters who are supposed to be going backwards are now actually moving forward.
Yeah.
And it was just, and I know that sounds really confusing,
it wasn't
and
so
that's the
much-
hard part about this movie to even try to explain. But it just, there were times where I didn't think the directing or the way in which he craftfully, I mean, you think about Dunkirk,
Yeah.
and it does a very deliberate thing with its editing where all the pieces of the film are edited together,
Yeah.
but literally one section, one group of people is 1 hour, one group of people is 1 day, one
Yeah.
group of people is 1 week,
Yeah.
and every time it shows them, it shows you how they all interconnect, but it's very deliberate about telling you, like, whenever you see this person, you know you're in that time period.
Right.
Yeah.
And that makes sense. In this movie, the editing, the way in which it was done, it was very, very confusing.
I feel
to
like
pull
there's
it off.
a scene where they're first going over the science when he's in the lab and with the whole catching the bullet kind of thing. And I feel like they tried to set it up so that you would recognize the fact that he is supposed to look around and see something happening, and he's supposed to understand what the cause of that effect was and reverse it. So like when he steps out into he sees the puddle splash, so he knows I have to step there. And they're trying to show you that how difficult it is to maneuver in the inverse world, because you have to look around you.
You have to
and
think of it
see
opposite.
Yeah. So if you see the bullet hole, you know that you need to raise your gun and point it at that hole, and the bullet is going to come back into the gun. So it's like you have to see it and recognize it, and then do what you think is going to cause that effect.
Yeah, but
that's when he comes out. That's why it's like he sees the puddle forming or the splash, and then he steps forward and puts his foot in it.
But the way they put it in the movie is like those things like are like that because they had already happened from somebody like being inverted. So it's like now that he is inverted, like him from his perspective shouldn't see that. Like if he wasn't inverted and he saw the puddle forming, he would know. But him as an inverted person, like he shouldn't have had to have seen the puddle forming. Like that should have been normal for him as an already inverted. That's where like I was getting confused.
Well,
but
and there was even and again, without being too spoilery, there was one scene in particular where a woman, well, I just kind of gave it away.
It's like the only one.
She gets shot.
Yeah.
And yet the way in which she gets shot is from a bullet coming
in reverse.
Going in reverse.
Yes,
right.
An inverted
So
bullet,
an inverted bullet. But the problem is as you're seeing it happen, it's like, it doesn't make sense because I'm like, well, if the bullet is going in reverse, so would the wound. So supposedly she already has the wound in that reversed
Well,
time,
no, she wasn't
time
supposed
span.
to have already had the wound. See, I think that's where you get tripped up. Is like that bullet was already inverted. He was just putting her in the way of it so that it would hurt.
It hits her
even
backwards.
worse.
Right.
That's why the biggest part of the wound was on the front of her body.
So it
because
wasn't
it
that.
entered the back.
The issue though that led him to believe that was going to happen when he sees it about to happen. He sees the bullet hole and it has blood in it.
Right.
But if there's blood in it, then that means that it's already happened.
Yeah.
So why in the world is it that theoretically I'm thinking, okay, well then if this has already happened, she already has
That's
the
what
bullet
I was
hole.
thinking, because
That's
that would
what
mean
confused me.
well, that would mean the bullet would go through her, the wound would close,
Yes.
and the
And
blood
then-
would go back in her body, and the
Right,
bullet would go back in the
That's
gun.
why they took her back through and inverted her so that the wound would like
Would
reverse
heal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, that's some of the things that are just kind of sketchy because it's like, well, if she wasn't already shot, then like the inverted bullet shouldn't have had any blood on it. Like it would be fine for that to be there and to reverse and go through her to cause more damage because that's what they were saying is the inverted bullets cause more damage
because they're blunt on the
they're
end, on the
reversed.
back.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't make sense if like there's already blood on it, somebody already got shot, and I don't know. Those are the things that aren't quite clear. Is like what is and isn't inverted.
There's inconsistencies in the laws of physics that he's trying to set up with this
Which
inverted. And that's what threw me. Yeah.
And I think that's also what is it's hard to believe because we know Nolan is so articulate and he's also he fine tunes these things
Kip
before
Thorne
he puts them.
was his
Yeah,
consultant
yeah.
again.
Yeah.
That's the
what
physicist
he did on Interstellar.
Yeah, was with Interstellar. So I just feel like maybe just there were certain things that just like the minute detail that Nolan's known for, I felt wasn't really there.
And I also feel like future Brandon is going to watch this episode after I've seen the movie
nobody's
3 more
gonna know what we're
times.
talking about.
And I'm also just going to be like, wow, we were stupid. We didn't get it. Now
Yeah.
we get it. So we're really coming from it from one viewing.
Maybe. But I mean, even after one viewing of Inception and Interstellar, I understood those movies.
True.
Like, and that's where I'm coming from is like, there are things about those movies that I understood more as I rewatched them, but I still understood like what the movies were and like their plot and everything.
Yeah.
This, like, there's just so much of it I don't understand that I was like, I just feel like there has to be some type of inconsistency.
Right. Well, and the other thing that I kind of that annoyed me about this was, other than the cool science fiction aspect of it, and just even I'm willing, honestly, because I know it's Nolan, I'm willing to sit there and be like, yeah, okay, that's fine with me. Like, I'll go along for the ride. But the overarching story too, is not all that hard to figure out.
No.
I mean, it's one of those things where he tries to be clever in certain parts, but it's not. And here's the thing: I don't think he's trying to stump you, and I don't mind that if he was. I just felt like some of the times when certain reveals would happen,
they weren't really big reveals.
They weren't big reveals. You could easily follow along.
Yeah.
And in that case, it was kind of one of those things where it was like the supernatural element mixed with the the kind of subpar, like, okay, straightforward story. I was like, it's still a good movie. It's still a good movie. It's just, it's not Nolan's best.
Well, and that's how I felt as far as like the emotion, which I mentioned in the review, is that it wasn't really required for this story. Like the straightforward story he told, like didn't really need a whole lot of emotional depth, so that was fine. Like I didn't want to really knock it too much for that. But at the same time, when you look at Inception and Interstellar and even Dunkirk, like the passion and the emotion in those movies and what drives the characters is what makes those movies so
freaking
compelling.
Matthew McConaughey tearing up in the after 7 years of his when
he
goes,
when he meets his daughter at the end of the movie and she's dying, like 90-something years old and
Yeah.
dying, and it's just like, man, how do you look
And
at
it's
your
like, yeah, this
child
story in
like
Tenet
that?
didn't have to have that, but at the same time, it just wasn't as like I didn't really care so much about John David Washington's character because he had no like he was just basically hired to do this job, and that's all he was doing this job. Like there was never a point where like he was doing it specifically for anybody else or for himself, or you could kind of say maybe he was doing it a little bit for Kat because he wanted to get her away from.
I think
Kenneth
that
Branagh.
really became there was
but
kind of
even
a
that
hint to
wasn't-
that love interest.
Yes,
there.
They hint at it and play around with it, but they never really go into any depth with it. The only depth that of the characters at all are between Kenneth Branagh and Kat and their abusive relationship, and that was really well done. I enjoyed that. Like that was
he
brilliant.
loses his stuff a couple of
Oh,
times.
yeah,
that
yeah.
He loses his. Grip.
This is
I was
probably
like,
the
man,
best I've ever
scared me.
seen Kenneth Branagh in a role. Like he was fantastic.
It makes you want to see him get his, which is good. It really does.
Oh, yeah.
It makes you want to see
the
him get
villain
it.
was great, but I kind of wish like there was just a little bit more.
Actually, I'm
emotional
glad.
depth.
I'm glad you even said the villain was great because
To an extent,
his
yeah.
acting was good. His motivation was terrible.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I thought there was one line again where it's literally his motivation is if you can't have it, then nobody can.
Nobody can.
And
I
that was
thought
his only motivation.
Yeah.
If I can't have you,
Every-
then nobody
I thought
can.
that was a little weak.
I did not put it in my review because every review I read had this word in there. But basically, they all said his only motivation for destroying the world was if he can't live, then nobody can.
Yeah,
live.
and I was like,
and everybody
that's
made fun
stupid.
of that, and I was like, I'll mention that on the podcast, but I'm not gonna put it in my review because literally that was in everybody's review.
Yeah.
Like, if I can't live, then the entire world can't live.
Well, and here's another question I have because I noticed that at the end of this film it says written and directed by Christopher Nolan. Now, typically he co-writes with his brother, and I
Some
was
of
not
them, not all of his movies
well,
have been. He
but-
did with the Dark Knight trilogy.
and and I'm wondering, but I think he also did with Interstellar.
I don't think he did with Dunkirk. I think Interstellar.
Okay,
and
maybe he didn't
Inception-
with Dunkirk.
Yeah.
But I was interested in knowing whether or not, because I think some of his stronger films have actually been written by his brother and him in co-authoring it.
Yeah.
Because I think
Well,
they're
Maybe
good
his
about
brother's
bouncing.
just better.
Yeah,
Well,
I
I
think
think-
say maybe without that vision,
Right.
the storytelling is not
Well,
that
and it's
great.
funny 'cause I think-
Inception wasn't written by Jonathan Nolan.
It wasn't?
Nope.
He doesn't have a writing credit?
He did Batman. He did Memento, Batman Begins, The Prestige, The Dark Knight Rises, Interstellar, and then that was it. So
Wow, okay.
Inception and this one, neither one were, but
Inception is definitely that one's good.
it's good.
Yeah.
As far as story all the way through.
I mean,
That
I
one
would
is-
say
yeah.
for me, The Dark Knight, Inception, and Interstellar are like my top 3 Nolan films.
You haven't seen Memento yet.
I haven't.
You
Memento's
gotta
really
see
good.
Memento.
Yeah, you gotta see Memento.
And that one actually, it's interesting because that was one where he said his brother was telling him the idea, and the way in which Nolan approached it and said, well, here's kind of how I want to put my flavor into it.
Yeah.
And then it was like the brother came up with the theory and the idea, and then he directed it. And I think it's like they have a great partnership,
Chemistry, yeah.
and bouncing things off one another. And so I just thought, well, maybe just
was part of the
him,
problem.
maybe just him not having someone to bounce this off of.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, to be fair, like Inception, like doesn't rely so heavily on science as much as story and the idea of being able to go deeper. So maybe that's it. Like maybe because Christopher Nolan didn't have to rely so heavily on scientific ideas, and maybe Jonathan Nolan's just better at that because Tenet did have a little bit more science to it than Inception
True.
does. Not as much as what Interstellar does, but
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and
Interstellar captured the ramifications of time way better than this movie did.
Yeah.
The fact that
Yes.
going through a wormhole or a black hole and going to another world and spending an hour there and it being 17 years on the ship and them coming back and the guy that they left behind being old and gray
Yeah.
and almost feeble-minded in a way because he's just crazy. Like, I mean, I really felt like it really captured the urgency of time.
Yes.
We've only got an hour on this planet. In
But
the
that's
meantime, our
years.
family members are dying,
Yes.
like literally of old age or of the blight or
Right.
whatever,
Yeah.
starvation, whatever was going on Earth. I felt like that movie really gave that urgency to, they've got to get here and do that. I just never really I understand, yes, they had to get the bad guy. They had to end him before he ended everybody. But I didn't feel the same sense of urgency when it came to
I didn't either.
the ramifications of the time travel or,
Right.
or the passage of time.
And I didn't really fully, and I think part of that urgency was because of the lack of understanding how the method of the entropy and the time effect worked.
Now-
And I thought that was part of the issue for me. Is I was like, if I understood a little bit better as to what's at stake here within this given time frame, because now they're having to reverse things and certain things have to go just right
Yep.
when they reverse it to make sure everything lines up correctly. That to me would have brought in I think a greater amount of urgency.
But when you talk about understanding it too, part of that goes into one of the issues we had in the theater, and it turns out after
Yes.
Keith read some reviews,
Yeah.
it wasn't just a theater issue, it's actually with the sound mixing, but the
In the movie.
volume
Yeah.
with some of the music and some of the action sounds overpowers the dialogue to the point where you can't hear
Yes.
or make out what they're saying.
And initially we thought AMC just they're
Cranked it up, man.
they have some
That's-
crap going on with their sound, but apparently that's happened all across the nation. Like people have been able to
Well, and
have
it's
not
weird.
been able to hear parts of the movie.
At the very opening scene, which is very much meant to be just like heart pounding, and
Yes.
it is. It
Yeah.
opens up that way, and I loved every second of
Yeah.
how loud it was.
Yeah.
But as it continued on, what I think irked me was it was once they got to the dialogue scene, the first dialogue scene. I thought the same thing. I thought, okay, all right, great opening scene. Fantastic. But yeah, somebody's got it cranked up too high. It's now drowning it out. But I remember the exact same thing happening with Interstellar in
Yes.
that same theater.
Yeah.
And so I thought, okay, maybe they just, there's a setting that's off or something. But when I hear that other people had that same issue, I'm like,
Well, when I bought
You know,
Interstellar in 4K and watched it for the first time at home, I noticed that, and I was telling Keith in the towards the beginning of the film when they're driving through the cornfield trying to capture the drone, the music is so intense and loud that you can't hear the dialogue between Matthew McConaughey and his son while
Right.
they're driving.
Right.
And it's just it's that way in your home listening to it on surround sound, which I have like mine tuned to where the dialogue is boosted.
Yeah.
So that late at
You
night
can
I
hear
can
it?
hear the dialogue without waking the kids up with explosions and stuff.
Right.
And even then the music just drowns out all of that to the
Yeah.
point where you can't hear it. And so I guess it's just Nolan's.
I think it's his flavor. I think
Yeah.
no doubt he likes that. And for the most part, I like his sound mixing
Oh yeah.
in terms of allowing the effects, and sometimes I like it to drown out the dialogue. I don't like it when it affects the storytelling
Yes.
and
Yeah.
I don't understand the plot.
Yeah.
Then I'm like for instance, when they're driving in the car, it's like, okay, some of that's a little bit, I don't want to have to spend the whole movie
Yeah.
like trying to I'm trying to hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to strain
Yeah.
the entire time. In moments I'm okay with it.
The opening scene in the opera house when they or not the opera house, the orchestra.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
When-
the opera house.
Yeah. Well, when they are in the coat room or that back room,
Didn't hear a word.
you couldn't hear a word they were saying
Yeah.
about who they were getting and how long they had to get him out. And
Yep.
I mean, I didn't have a clue what was going on
Yeah.
other than just being blown away by the IMAX and the action.
Yes. Yep.
Like, I mean, it was
I mean,
beautiful.
I will
but-
say it is it's one movie where when I heard a gunshot in that
you
film,
feel it.
you not only feel it,
God.
I really was like, holy shit,
Squint.
this has got to be what it sounds like when you're in like a home invasion
Oh,
and
yeah.
a gun
Yeah.
goes off, because
Yeah.
it was
piercing.
loud.
Yeah.
It was loud.
I like loud stuff.
Yeah.
And I love turning the volume all the way up. And when you go to IMAX, it's 44,000 watts.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a lot of amp coming through there.
That's right.
But man, there were times when gunshots would go off, and I would.
Yeah.
I mean, it really did make me wince because it was so loud.
Right.
So I liked it. I liked feeling it. But if it drowns out what you're trying to convey through the dialogue, especially the necessary dialogue, I can't get past that.
But can we all say, and I guess we could all agree, that this is absolutely spectacle? And again, because here's the one thing that, and this is what I think will be interesting, when we watch it again and also down the road, years to come. Will the 3 out of 4 stars hold up? Because again, it's hard that we ever get something original.
Yeah.
We just don't see that nowadays.
I mean, I think
and,
it'll
and,
hold up.
and thankfully, this is, again, a Nolan original, and it is told interestingly. Now, the story, I think, lacks in certain parts where it's overarching. We've seen this before, but in terms of the science fiction aspect of it, it is done, again, only a way a Nolan can.
It's a completely different take on
Oh, yeah.
time travel or the usage of time like that.
Yes.
And that's so it is original. But I mean, even Nolan can take something unoriginal like Batman that's been around for 6 decades, and he can make it something completely new with The Dark Knight.
True.
I definitely don't see the score going down. Like, if anything, after I watch it a few times and after I actually can understand the dialogue, maybe it'll go up. But I don't think it'll go lower than 3 for me, for sure.
But
awesome.
Definitely go see it. And are we all on 3?
I think we're all settled on 3.
Yeah, 3 stars.
I'm definitely settled on 3.
It's good. It's not Nolan's best, but it is still really good.
Absolutely.
And it leads us right into our headline.
That's right. I think, you know what? Let's go ahead and let's just, oh crap, I don't have the buttons ready. Let's roll.
God.
You're killing me, Smalls.
Y'all speak too fast. That's right. It's our headlines this week.
Huh.
Oh, and that's and the great.
Yeah, we should have played it in reverse.
I should have had it ready for reverse. That's
wow.
right. No, but we are talking about Tenet again, and the fact that when
It's something to talk
unhinged,
about.
just look at it. Well, just look at it.
What were you going to say about Unhinged?
The
first new release?
It was. Let's think about this. Unhinged came out, and we talked about the fact that it had made $4 million, being one of the first bigger movies to come out when theaters reopened.
Yep.
And that was only a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And the fact is that, starring Russell Crowe, you have a headliner.
Nobody knew what Unhinged was.
I still don't know what it is.
It was an independent film. I think it was made for like $2 million.
I'm not saying it's bad. I just
no.
Oh my
God.
I did it again.
What's going on? Oh my gosh! Stop pushing buttons. There's Russell Crowe.
There's Russell right there.
Yeah, that's what he had
Come
to say
on,
about
you
his
have
movie.
to tell me you're entertained by this.
Jeez.
Come on.
Gosh. 2020, man.
It just Corona's hitting the buttons over here.
Oh, man.
Okay.
No, all right. So Unhinged, I still am kind of interested in seeing it. I don't.
I
It didn't
still
get
wanna see
great
it.
reviews,
Yeah.
but I will say, it looks like just a good, solid. Russell Crowe
I just
loses
think-
his mind.
I
I'll
just think
watch it.
it
You
was
know,
just too
why not?
I think it was just too small a film to pull people back to the theaters.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was kind of their hope early on, and I think they would have had a better showing with Unhinged if it had released back in July, and literally it was only theaters were only closed for half the summer. I think it would have kind of been because Tenet was supposed to come out the very next week, and I think they were trying to get that mad rush back before a major release like Tenet. But definitely, Tenet coming out with $140+ million.
Yep.
Easily pushing over the 150 within its first weekend, after theaters have been shut down completely. The blockbuster's back. I mean, this is fantastic news for the industry.
It's at 153 right now.
Yeah.
See, that's fantastic.
And that's a huge for a worldwide release when theaters can only have up to 40% capacity, at least in the States. I mean, I'm sure it's different in different countries, but we do know worldwide that theaters aren't 100% fully open no matter where you go. So, yeah, I mean, that's impressive.
And I'm hoping that it just continues to climb
Yes.
because really it was to be honest with you, it was small here in the States.
Oh yeah.
But compared to what it was globally, and
Yeah.
and always worldwide you're gonna have more.
Well, there's
but-
less restrictions overseas
Right.
too than there are. I think
Yep.
we have some of the heaviest restrictions right now.
But it was still interesting because I'm hoping that, yes, with the success of it being Nolan, and it does have generally, positive reviews. We like it. We encourage everybody to go see it.
Yeah,
but
it's-
even on
it's-
Rotten Tomatoes, it's about a 70% right now.
Yeah, a little
So-
higher. I was going to say its budget was only I was thinking around 200 million, so I had to Google it, but it was 225 million for its budget. So it's already on track to make its budget
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
Good.
Which is really, like Warner's has stated, that's really what their hope was, to at least break even with the budget in this, like the way COVID is.
Yeah.
So if it goes past its budget, Warner's is going to be thrilled because they know, okay, this was definitely a hit, and had COVID not happened, it probably would have raked us in even more.
Oh,
Right.
definitely.
But it's just great to know that Tenet was exactly what we were hoping it would be with the launch of going back to the theater, and I'm just excited and happy that it's doing well, and of course that it's worth watching.
Well, and
but
that's-
hopefully that it does get more butts in the seats
Yeah.
week in and week out.
That's why Nolan was so adamant on having it release in theaters, having it be one of the first films to come back to theaters. He didn't want to push it off till next year. He didn't want to let it go to video on demand because he knew that.
Well, and that was actually a rumor that apparently Warner came out and they said they had never planned on this going to video
Yeah.
on demand. Like that would
Well,
never.
Nolan
And I'm like, I don't know if I
himself-
believe
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I don't either.
Nolan himself had stated from the get-go that he did not want this going video. Now, granted, he doesn't have the final say. Warner Brothers would have.
Yeah.
But from the very beginning, Nolan was stating that he was lobbying for this film to not go video on demand.
Oh, absolutely.
Which,
we knew
yeah.
that.
Which we know
Yeah.
he's a major advocate for theaters anyways. So
I will say that if it would have went VOD, I think it would have raked in way more money opening
Probably.
weekend than it did.
Yeah.
But every production company, that's what they're hoping for right now, is to break even with every movie.
Well, exactly.
So,
I was going to
it's
say,
not-
I think the whole entire outlook for the films
Well,
the rest of
I
this
honestly-
year. And in fact, now I think this is going to kind of be the standard for the rest of the year. I mean, you've
Yeah.
got huge Black Widow,
Wonder Woman,
No Time to Die.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we're
Top
looking
Gun.
The trailer for
What?
Black
Top
Widow
Gun's
that
coming
we-
out this year?
December?
It is, yeah.
Oh gosh,
It
I
comes
didn't
out for
realize
Christmas,
that.
December 22nd. It's
Oh,
going to be a Christmas
man.
release.
It's
yeah.
gonna be a good
Yes,
year.
yeah.
We got some
Soul.
good movies.
Disney Pixar Soul.
Good.
That one looks good.
Gosh, there's
It-
so many good
It comes
ones.
out the same day as No Time to Die, so we're have to do. I mean, I'll probably see them
No,
both.
that's perfect.
I say I'll
That's-
see them both the same week, but we'll probably have to review one week and the other the next week.
Yeah.
We'll review No Time to Die the opening week. So,
we will.
Yeah.
That's
Soul will
exactly-
have to wait a week, but that's okay.
But no, it really was. I think that was the beauty too of going to the theater and seeing this, was actually seeing the trailers that were attached to the film and getting excited that this year has been absolute garbage.
Yeah.
But we really have a slew of films that
Yeah.
we were already
Still-
looking forward to, and we had and we're getting them
Yeah.
literally the way in which the year is working. We're getting them one right after the other,
Yeah.
Well,
which is fantastic.
Not everything got pushed off till next year, thankfully. Some studios
Yeah.
did keep things for this year, and luckily, the way it's set up now, because there were so many big releases pushed to the side, now we kind of have quite a few, multiples coming out within the same month of each other. So,
Yeah.
And even I think probably bigger than just any of the movies that we just mentioned is something that is coming out from the 80s. That's right. Grizzly 2. Okay, is it going to hit theaters or is it coming video
I
on
don't
demand?
care. I just want to watch it.
The first one popped up on our website. We get our screeners
Oh,
from.
is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm tempted to download it just to
see what it's
see
about.
What it is.
I mean, we have to. You got a
Here's the
young
thing.
George Clooney.
Well, that's not
Yeah.
the first
young
one.
Laura
second
Dern.
one.
That's
Oh,
only
it's
the
Grizzly
second one.
2. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's talking about the first one's
Oh,
on,
he's
on
got
our
the-
screener website. But yeah,
Where
I
they,
definitely want to check out Grizzly 2 because it's young Judge George Clooney. It's young George Clooney.
Hey,
Man,
where's my
George
"You're killing
Clooney."
me" Smalls?
Yeah.
I want to push it for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why don't you push it? That's
What is
right.
it? Oh, now he
He
can't find
can't
it.
find
Need a bigger boat.
Oh,
He
he
always
just pushed a random one.
yeah, just a random one.
You know.
But I George Clooney, Laura Dern, freaking Charlie Sheen's in
Charlie
it.
Sheen.
I mean, I want to see it.
He's the bear.
but apparently, yeah, when it came out, they were all no-name actors.
Yeah.
Which is kind of obvious because for the
83
nature
was
of
it?
Yeah.
I think it was 83.
But they were all no-name actors in this terrible B horror movie.
Apparently,
and now I really want to see
I've never actually picked him out of the movie because I've seen it before. But they say George Clooney was in Attack of the Killer Tomatoes too.
Yeah, he was in the second.
And I've seen that.
Yeah.
And I do not remember
pick him
George
out?
Clooney.
Yeah, he's not. He's like a.
It's probably like a
background character.
Crispin
Oh,
Glover type
okay.
incident, like
Yeah.
Back to the Future Part 2.
Yeah.
Crispin was never in that movie.
They
No,
tried.
no,
they
they-
try to
they
like.
use his
They try to
likeness.
resell the movie now by
That-
using his name, just like
It's
the,
his first movie he was ever in.
the
but-
original
Yeah.
Little Shop of Horrors. Like they sell that by saying Jack Nicholson's first movie.
Yes.
Yeah,
and
but
he's
he's
in it for like
Yeah, but
3 minutes.
here's the
or
thing, though:
something.
the role he plays is supposed to be like they give that role to someone like special. Like he plays like like it's Bill Murray in the
Yeah.
musical.
Yeah.
It's the patient that likes
Likes
the
pain.
pain.
Oh, Bill
that
Murray?
gets- yeah.
Is in the
No,
musical?
no.
No.
Yeah,
no,
He's
yeah.
in the musical. Have
Oh,
you not
wow.
seen that?
No.
He's
What?
I've
with
not
Steve
seen
Martin?
that. No, you're talking about Rick Moranis.
No.
No.
Bill Murray is
Bill
it?
Murray is the guy that goes to the dentist to
And
get
gets-
to.
I
get-
did
wants
not.
his
Yeah,
teeth
no,
pulled
I
out.
did not. I don't know
Because he
why
enjoys
I
the
missed
pain.
that.
Yeah, they
pain.
always give it
Oh
to
my
somebody like
gosh.
that. It's a very small role, but it's supposed to be kind of a bigger figure because
Wow.
it's supposed to be comedic. So
Yeah.
I kind of get the point of why Jack Nicholson has that role and why they tout it, as opposed to George Clooney in Attack of the Killer Tomatoes 2, when he's a very minor character.
But here's the thing. I mean, my question when this even was announced
Mm-hmm.
and that they found this is I'm like, there's got to be some other hidden gems out
Oh
there.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
And if
that have never been released.
Yeah, and I'm like,
Yeah.
now's the time to push these video on
Yeah.
demands, cheap $5 rentals to watch. A George Clooney, first ever, or a Laura Dern. It's like these
Charlie
younger,
Sheen.
Charlie Sheen. I mean, heck, it's
Before
like
drugs. I mean,
It's funny because I guess we all just have this similar. Well, I don't guess. I know we all have a similar sense of humor because I saw the article. Then Sean sent the article. Then Jacob
emailed us about it.
It's
Yeah.
like we're all on this Grizzly
Yeah.
2 thing.
that's why I had to make it a headline. I was like, we got to include it because I don't think we're the only ones excited. Okay, I want to see this movie,
absolutely.
and I want to see what else is out there that's never been seen the light of day.
Mm.
I mean, especially things that are like early career starters for a lot of stars out there.
Yeah.
I mean, those are the best, absolutely the best.
Well, Emilio Estevez, his first movie was Maximum Overdrive, which was actually, it was poorly reviewed, but I think it's one of like the better like Stephen King
Maximum
movies.
Overdrive?
Yeah, that's an awesome movie.
It is an awesome movie, but
It's like The Happening, but with electronics,
with
vehicles and stuff.
Well, it's still better.
Yes, it is better.
I mean, I get why it got bad reviews at the time. I guess 'cause it's one of those things that is all it's not quite so bad it's good because it's really not that bad. It's
No.
just it's hokey, but it's kind of
Yes.
meant to be. Like
Yeah.
it knows that it's stupid and it plays to that effect.
Well.
Yeah.
And it's like you can't really say a movie's dumb if it admits it's dumb. Like it knows that it's being stupid on purpose.
Oh yeah.
That's a good out. I'm gonna
don't know.
use
There
that
you go.
in my own movies.
It's
But
like, well, if you're
26 years.
I'm just saying, if you go
we
in,
meant that.
if
Yeah.
you go in with the intention of making a really
intentional.
stupid movie and you make a really stupid movie, it's like, did you fail because that was what you wanted to do? I
That-
mean,
I
It
mean,
makes you
look-
wonder about Neil Breen. Is it like, does he know that his movies
I-
are that stupid?
I don't
he
think
ca-
so.
No, he has to believe that what he's creating. I mean, I really do think he thinks he's
It's a
creating
masterpiece.
movies that
I
are
mean-
not only masterpieces, but are like he believes he's like some kind of god.
that's what I'm saying. The movie he made where he's God
Yeah.
told me all I needed to know
Yeah.
about them. He really feels like his
he
movies.
is supernatural in like all of them.
He feels
Yeah.
like his movies are imparting some type of wisdom on
Yes.
people. Like
I mean, he knows. Like I truly think he knows government secrets.
Oh, wow.
Because he told us.
Yeah,
in
but the
about
government
5
doesn't
movies.
care that he's releasing
I mean,
them because
honest.
he's doing it through these stupid movies. And they're
Well,
like,
because
nobody's
again,
gonna
he's
see
not
that.
telling you in the movies.
Yeah.
He's just telling you that he knows.
Oh, okay.
So that's the
if
kicker.
I had to pick between him and Tommy Wiseau, I'm gonna have to say Tommy Wiseau
Tommy
makes
Wiseau.
better movies.
Yeah.
Like they're listen,
Oh yeah.
they're
But
bad,
here's,
but
here's
they're
the
so
thing,
bad. They're
but here's
good.
what
They're
I
fun to
don't
watch.
like about Tommy Wiseau is that ever since the room has blown up in the way it has, and especially with the disaster artist, I don't like the fact that he's kind of, especially after he was like, "Oh, it's supposed to be a comedy. It's supposed to be funny," and I'm
He
like,
tried
"No,
to
it's not."
backpedal.
And the fact is he's kind of like, I don't know. He's kind of tried to use the stardom to relaunch his career.
I know.
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
But he
so
still makes
knows.
crap.
True, but he
Like,
he knows.
best
Neil
fiends.
Breen has no
Yeah.
clue. Neil Breen truly is like ignorant about how crappy.
Oh,
his
I
movies are.
agree with that, but it's still more fun to watch what Tommy Wiseau makes.
No, that's true.
So
That's true.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
Well, moving on to something else that I guess
moving right along.
I don't know if we can really trash it. One of us has seen it. We're gonna review it
We're-
next week.
Next week we'll bring you the review of Mulan. We'll see how we feel about it. It's gotten lots of mixed opinions. I mean, it's generally received good reviews so far from what I've seen, but outside of the critics, what I've seen online from audiences and stuff has been very mixed. So critics are favoring it, but audiences
Of
seem
course.
to be like not so keen on it. So we'll see. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and Sean, I guess without spoiling it for us or for our viewers, you know, do you have a score for us?
Keith's already spitting his drink out. I've seen it twice.
Oh wow!
Watched it once with my son, and
Now this was
and-
from our screener, right?
correct.
Okay.
two
Just
different screeners.
Oh,
'cause
wow.
We got a 1080 screener first, and we watched that one,
And then they got a 4K?
and then they released the 4K screener.
See,
so that was uploaded to our private server, and so I downloaded that, and just in case it was better in 4K.
Yeah.
With
Well,
HDR.
it always
So
makes it slightly.
I watched it by myself without the distractions of, Sawyer asking me every 10 seconds what's going on, he just couldn't pay attention, which
Yeah.
I understand completely. But so I watched it by myself, and it did not make it. It's a pretty movie.
Oh, okay.
It is. It's beautifully shot. A lot of the scenery and stuff is. I'm
have to watch that
hoping that
4K
it's real.
screener then.
I'm hoping that the
Agreed.
sets are real, like it's really shot outdoors and not some kind of fancy green screen. But they captured the landscape of China really well,
Okay.
because there's a very differentiating.
Differentiating.
Yeah.
Is that a
there you
word?
go.
That is.
Landscape. It's kind of like New Zealand, where you go from desert to rocks to
Oh, okay.
to
A wide
beautiful
variety
green.
of
Yeah,
of
it's
landscape. Okay.
beautiful landscape. The rest of the movie, I can't really.
The substance is not too
Some
too.
of-
Too
I bordered between 1.5 and 2,
oh wow.
and I think I'll settle on 2,
okay.
but it takes everything I got to give it.
well,
2.
let me put it this way: is it worth a $30 rental?
Absolutely not.
Then I think that
No.
sums it up for
Yeah.
a lot of people
Yeah.
right
I
there.
think so.
$30 is pretty steep. That's an amount of money that I don't know that I would have even paid for Tenet, other than if it was only video on demand.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
I probably would have. And if it's mine, forever, which a lot of people thought Mulan was going to be a rental situation, but once you pay it,
You do
you can
have
watch
it.
it as many times
Yeah.
as you want on Disney Plus
But
but it's
if
coming
you
out
wait
free in
until
December.
Yeah.
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 So
But
it's like,
but
why-
no, it's not worth $20. It's not worth
The thing-
$15.
And again,
Wow.
I haven't
VOD.
seen
Right
it.
there.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it, so I don't know. But from what Sean's telling me, and the thing that's kind of bugging me going in is that they touted it as being a more like historically accurate version. Granted, I mean, Mulan's based off of a fictional ballad anyways. No one actually knows whether she was real or not,
Yeah.
though historians believe she was not. They tout this as being more historically accurate than the cartoon, but then Sean's telling me about these little minor details that
And
are
I may
not-
be wrong. Like I didn't realize that they had mirrors back then.
Well, they didn't have glass. You're right
this
about
is
that.
a glass mirror.
That's what I'm
I
saying.
didn't
Yeah, they would have
realize
had
they
like
had that.
They
They
would
had
have had
shiny metal.
Yeah,
but
they said they had mirrors like as early as the Bronze Age, but it was all polished metal.
right.
So it's like for her to have a
A handheld round
Yeah, yeah.
decorative mirror that you look
That's
at and do
yeah.
your makeup
I don't
in.
know about that.
But then
it should have been like polished
Yeah.
steel or polished. You know what I'm saying?
what they wear
Yeah.
on their feet was more boot-like, and I feel like back then they were still wrapping their feet in burlap with string and something on the bottom of their feet.
Holy crap.
So there's a
Holy
lot of
crap.
just
Yeah.
different like details that stood out to me that I was just kind of like, I didn't know they had that in ancient China.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But and then there is a supernatural aspect to it, like in the cartoon, but it's never developed enough to become something useful.
So that's not where they
other
get
than
the mirrors.
no,
Okay.
no, it's not mirror, mirror on the wall. But it's not a musical, which I really liked that there was no songs in the movie. It's just a straight up live action film.
I know there's a
and
lot of people that actually are pissed about that, and those are the people I'm just like, well, you're stupid because
They're part of the bandwagon that thank God we've gotten rid of.
Even the music
you know.
in the movie, the score is not that fantastic, other than the main title theme or whatever is very good.
Well, if you've noticed at the bottom of your screen, it's said boycott Mulan.
Oh wow!
And part of the reason why we've really brought this up is not just because we're reviewing it next week and give you our even more in-depth opinion, but the fact is we're bringing it up because obviously some pro-democracy groups in China are trying to get this film boycotted by as many people as possible to not pay that $30, to not support the film, simply because they think they bent too many strenuous they wrote the
Disney
movie
jumped
in
through
such a way
hoops
to make it
please communist China, and the pro-democracy movement over there is not happy about it. They're like, why are you trying to please a communist government that is oppressing its people?
And it's funny because I think for the longest time we've seen not only these protests, I mean, let alone the ones going on here nowadays, but over there we've been seeing this happening, and this has been something I think that they've been more vocal about, or at least it's gotten outside of just their borders because of the fact that this is such a huge film that obviously Hollywood is going to, they're gonna milk it for what it's worth, and they're gonna try to make their money off of it. But ultimately, the disappointing thing I believe is that, and the reason why I think this is kind of getting more of the word out is because of the fact that this is a cultural movie. This is part of actually going to the theater and seeing something, and someone here isn't going to think about how it affects, the Chinese people or ultimately, the oppression of those people. And I think this is a way for them to try to get their message out.
But again, the movie, I never really got any kind of a sense other than it being the way it's supposed to be, historically accurate, in the sense of, yes, China used it was an emperor. It was an empire. There's an emperor. It's you die for him, you die for the kingdom. That's how it was. So let's not hide that fact.
Yeah.
No.
And I mean, in the way that they portray the family and the honor system and honoring your family, and how doing a certain thing can dishonor your family and basically ruin their reputation for the rest of their lives, even that's in the film, but that's historically accurate.
But I think most of the arguments kind of more or less stem from the main actress, and the main actress was very outspoken about certain things, and they were slanted against
very outspoken.
The pro-democracy groups.
She was
and
very
she was very pro-China, and pro.
People were back then.
No. Now
the actress.
Now
the
one
the
that's
actress
the
now.
actress
main
now.
actress had come out in support of the police who were brutally beating and attacking the pro-democracy protesters, and she was in support of those police. And the pro-democracy movement's like, well, then we're going to boycott this movie because they are actively trying to oppress us and stop democracy. It is. It's basically the people who are trying to say don't support her, or don't support the film, and don't see it.
I think that's crap, because I mean I don't agree with Chris Evans. I can't stand Chris Evans. I can't stand his political views. I can't stand the stuff he posts on Twitter, but that doesn't mean I'm not a fan of Captain America.
Right.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, he is Captain America.
But you're also you're also in a little bit of a different position than the people living in China being
I'm free.
oppressed.
Yeah.
So,
True.
they want to boycott the movie because they're hoping it'll bring attention to the fact that they're being oppressed.
I understand that,
but no, I would ultimately I do agree. I think it is two different sides of the same coin, in the sense that it's I can't sit here and I think argue the fact that it's I'm living in a free country. I get to make my choices. But I agree. It's if I had the freedom to choose, well, then I'm going to go choose to be entertained by this person, but not have to listen to their political views and disagree with them. It's I can see them as just an entertainer, and that's it. Right. But, say what you will. It's if you feel like you're supporting, communist China by seeing this, then don't see it.
Oh, I'm still going to see it.
I'm going to see it, but I'm going to see
Disney.
Let's just say
pretty much.
I'm going to see it because of that free screener that we got.
Say,
okay?
I'm not paying for it. I'm not paying for it, so I'm really not supporting anybody.
True. I'll be blatantly honest. Yeah, it's I'm not paying for that garbage. Okay,
and you guys you guys might love it. You might rate it way higher than me, and you may praise it. So.
I don't know. We'll see.
There you go.
We'll see. All right, guys. I think now, as you heard that little musical intro earlier, we're finally ready to move on to our story time segment.
It's story time, where the podcast members tell their stories.
Story time.
Gets me every time.
Every time. Oh my gosh. At least it's a
One
different
up.
one. We never ever use different ones, but I need to get some more, I guess.
You do. No, the Killing Me Smalls one just happened to come in handy on this episode.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
just-
it always is a good one.
Yeah,
That one's
yeah.
one that'll
Yeah.
stay. I'm not going to
oh,
replace
that one definitely
one.
needs to stay because
Yeah.
that fits situations. And that Are You Not Entertained fits certain situations.
Yeah, you can't handle the
True.
truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's-
you can
that
use
one's
that
good.
every day.
But I do need to add it's working.
Yeah,
I need
it's
that.
that one.
It's working. All right, guys.
Just reminded me real quick.
Uh-oh.
It's gonna be like the first Christmas in a while that we haven't had a Star Wars film.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there's almost been one every Christmas. It seems like for
Yeah,
the
but
past
they've
several
all been
years.
Disney Star Wars films.
true.
So
That's
So it is a little
I'm
different.
just saying, it's gonna be
True.
different.
traditionally they came out.
Now
in
it's Top
May.
Gun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm fine with
actually,
that.
I'm okay with that. Yeah.
No, I
know,
think it's gonna be good.
I ain't gonna lie, it's gonna be a good. I mean, No Time to Die, Top Gun, Soul. Like, there's
Black Widow.
Black Widow.
Widow.
There's some great movies coming out. I really think we need to do this every year now. Like, let's not have any movies. Let's just wait till the end of the year and just have one right after another.
I don't
Yes.
like it.
You don't like it?
Yeah, because he has to write all these reviews.
Yeah, true.
No, I mean they don't affect my review.
No, I
writing
agree.
any.
I do miss going
I
to
just
the theater.
yeah, like going to the
Yeah.
theater, and I could always find something to go see in the theater.
Yeah, true.
All right. So
And
what's
it's-
I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay,
I
we're done
gotta
with
stop topic.
We're
Yeah,
done
yeah,
with
yeah,
movies.
yeah, yeah.
Let's talk about stories.
We got like 5 minutes left in the show.
Oh
Come on,
gosh,
guys.
we got to wrap this up.
Oh, man.
Okay, so what I wanted to talk to y'all about this week,
Mhm.
or ask you all about, I should
Mhm.
say,
Mm-hmm.
is when was the time that you prepared for something, but completely failed and failed miserably? Whoever wants to start, Sean. You didn't think you had something, but then you were like, "Oh, I got it."
Yeah, I can remember in middle school, I think it was the 7th grade. There was a girl I liked. I can't. I'm not naming
Oh.
No
names,
romance.
Oh.
but
What was the
um,
first name? You can name drop her
Alicia.
first name. Ooh,
And
Silverstone.
Alicia.
nope, no clue.
Vikander.
So
Yeah,
I
like
actually
Alicia Vikander.
prepared what I was gonna say like on the phone when I called her to ask
I
her
love
if
these,
she
man. Yeah.
wanted to go out or whatever. Actually, I take it back. It was 8th grade because it was the 8th grade dance that I was
Nice.
asking her to.
Yeah.
You remember those?
Oh hell
Yeah.
yeah!
yeah,
That was
So-
the pre-prom.
yeah.
They get you ready.
Yeah.
Made you feel
So
like
yeah,
you're somebody important.
I rehearsed it. I wrote it. I rehearsed it some more. It took everything I had. It took hours of sitting at my best friend's house to get the courage to pick the phone up and call the number. And when I did, yeah, I failed miserably.
Do you even
Because
remember
I-
remotely what you said?
No.
Was it
No.
gibberish?
It was gibberish, and the answer was no. So, but it was like I had this huge long thing I was gonna say, and it was epic. It was like something out of freaking Say Anything. Like it was like freaking John Cusack shit, and it was gonna be awesome. And I mean, I was ready to do everything except hold the boombox over my head
That's
outside
right.
of her house because that was just creepy then. But
Because Alicia deserved it.
plus I didn't have a car. I was too young. But no, I called and I was praying that she wouldn't answer the phone because then I could at least say I tried. But she did answer the phone.
Wait, was your buddy there with you?
Oh yeah, he was in the room. Yeah, he was in the room. It was speakerphone and everything. And so yeah, she answered and I tried very hard to say what I had planned to say, but it basically just came out gibberish.
Yep.
And I think I coughed.
Oh.
Like I'm pretty sure I coughed. And then when she said no, like she was nice. It was like I appreciate the call and
Was she already going
I'm
with
kinda
somebody
flat-
else?
Yeah, she was going with somebody else.
Oh,
And
no.
so
Was
when
she really? Or
yeah. They
okay.
went. Yeah,
They already
yeah.
went.
So,
okay.
and I knew the guy, so it was like, yeah, I understand. He's cooler than me, but way cooler than me. But yeah, when she said no, like, yeah, I lost it. Like I was in tears after I
Yeah.
hung up the phone. But my best friend was there to console me and all that. And
Put his arm around you.
yeah,
Make
and
fun of
then
you a little bit.
but what happened after that was then there was this other chick that was into me that I was kind of like, nah, I want the better one.
I'll pick
I was going, it's just like the movies, where you're going for
She'll do.
yeah, and
You
then
know,
and then it's
this one didn't work out. She'll
It's
do.
the one that's more like a friend that you end up going with. So I ended up going to the 8th grade dance.
She's
and
all
yeah,
that,
we
you know.
we went out for a year or two.
You went with Lainey Boggs.
Who?
Lainey Boggs. She's all that.
No, it wasn't like that.
It's like, how did,
But,
he said name dropping people. I don't
I
know.
No, that's
Just like
It's like, who's
Lady
that's
Boggs.
what I was thinking. It's like, who's Lady Boggs?
Freddie Prinze Jr. And
I know that
I
one.
forget her name. I don't know what the
I've never
actress's
seen
name
that
is.
movie.
But I just remember
But
that it's
yeah.
one of the worst names in a movie.
Yeah,
I was
but
like,
I never watched that.
She's cute.
Yeah, I'm
She's
not
a
going
cute
to
actress.
watch it.
Yeah.
That was before the.
Alicia was cute too.
I
bet.
didn't watch it back then. I'm not going to watch it now.
It's not worth it. Don't.
Yep.
Don't waste your time.
But I ended up with
That's-
Beth, which was it was a good relationship.
So you
Married
wanted
a couple
Alicia.
years.
You wanted A, but you went with B.
True. wow.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah.
That just connected right there.
It
All right,
did.
Keith, what about you?
Truthfully, though, he was C.
What?
He was option C.
No.
He went with option B.
Alicia A, Beth B.
I know. And he
That's-
was option C.
But C isn't Sean.
No, I was
it doesn't
option
have
S.
to be.
There, yeah.
Going on
All-
Brandon's thing that he's trying to
I know
do.
what he's trying to do. I was just making the twist that you were Beth's option C. You didn't know
True.
there was two guys ahead of you.
I was trying to make
I know.
It didn't work. Anyways, Keith, what about what about you?
I don't plan anything. That's
just-
because everything I ever plan never works.
I like the
so,
way.
Wow.
What was the name you called it? I liked it,
Oh, I say I Magoo my way through life. I really do.
Mr. Magoo.
I
right
always
here.
have better luck just winging things, so I just
Okay.
wing things from now on. I'll try.
But
to,
here's
like,
the thing: has there ever been a time where you just try to wing it and you failed miserably?
Usually, I get luckier if I wing it. It's when I try to plan. Like if I'll use like trips as an example. I try to plan out. Okay, this is what I need to do to get ready for this, and I get anal about things. And if something doesn't go exactly like I haven't planned, like
I knew you were
I-
going to laugh.
I freak
I
out.
was just like, somebody's going to laugh.
Well, I have to.
I do, but I do. And then I get anxiety because it's like, well, this isn't how I planned it out. And then like everything just falls apart. So I find I have better luck because I tend to overthink things. So now it's
Yeah.
like to eliminate the overthinking. Like I just kind of like I just go at it, and
Right.
I find like in everything I do that like usually I'm better like working like under pressure than I am trying to pre-plan things out.
Oh,
So,
wow.
I don't know.
Has
So
any?
that's why you've worked in the restaurant business for so long.
Yeah.
because that's how the
Yeah.
restaurant business
Yeah.
works, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, but do other people see it that way? Like you see it as like, yeah, I made my way through and like I just wing it and it all works out. But do other people?
nobody-
and from other people's perspective,
Nobody-
are they
I
like,
don't know.
no.
I don't know where you're
No.
going with it.
Nobody knows I'm
Yeah.
winging it. Everybody thinks I have everything figured out. They're like,
Okay.
that guy knows what the hell he's
I'm
doing.
like, I'm thinking about when we get to the lake and it's like the battery in the boat's dead and you didn't bring the keys and all these things. I'm just like,
Well, he's winging it.
yeah, he's winging it.
But it didn't work out. You
No, I'm
know?
not talking about in those instances. 'Cause in those instances, I mean, you can't pre-plan for that anyway. Like, how do
No,
you
you
pre-plan
can check
for
the
the
boat.
No,
the
I'm
weekend
thinking.
before.
I'm thinking
We
of
did.
like.
We do, but
I'm messing with you.
the problem is like
messing with
nobody's down there for like
I
all
know.
year. The only time people
He's
go
getting
down there is when
defensive.
we're down
Yeah,
there.
no,
I'm
here's
just
the
messing
I'm
with
not
thing.
getting defensive. I'm
No,
being
here's
honest.
the thing. I think it's funny because I was thinking of Margaret's Monsters,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I remember.
Yeah, exactly.
But that was fine. It was, but I remember
You
having
got
to
it
be
done.
like, I was like, we have to hit this deadline, and you knew
it
just
done.
from our previous projects, and that kind of segues into mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's what I'm always like. I'm a procrastinator.
Yeah.
I procrastinate. But I know that when we got Margaret's Monsters and I was like, this is our deadline. And it was like, you were like, I've got to come over to your house and like be somewhere where
No
I know I can, no
distractions.
distractions, nothing, sit down and write it and, crank this out.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully, yeah, it worked out beautifully.
Yeah.
But for instance, like 26 years was by far from start to finish a complete disaster. Yet it was, there were so many things in it that I was creatively trying, and I learned a ton from going through it the way I did. I learned a lot about pre-planning and making sure that I had everything prepared. But then there's been times where smaller video projects on the side that I'd get paid for, like cross-country videos, or this one in particular was, and this is the only time it bit me, it was the 75th anniversary of our church, and they wanted a video with interviews from people who had been there, for a long time. It's a church that has like a school attached to it, so they wanted interviews with some of the teachers who had been there a long time, and of course the pastor who was shortly retiring after that. But it was their 75th anniversary, and I was making this big long video about it. Not long, but something that was tasteful. There was going to be a nice fancy dinner that everybody had to pay for, had to buy a table for, and they were going to show this video during that time while people were eating dinner. And I mean, I spent tons of time on this, going and filming the different interviews on different days, editing it, trying to put it all together, trying to fill it in with music and make it look all nice. And I mean, I was up. There were days where that was back in the time where I had to work in the mornings. Like we're talking 3 a.m., 4 a.m. on directing, and then I'd have to come home and try to work on it. And I remember it was the weekend of the actual event, and I had to work that Friday morning and get off at noon and come home and try to finish it and get it done. And I worked even Saturday morning. And it was like in between, I had no sleep whatsoever. I was working around the clock to get this done. And this was before I had a new computer, and I knew that exporting it was kind of a shot in the dark. It was like, I'm going to hit export, and I have no idea how long this is going to take. So it took like 2-3 hours for this thing to export. And I knew I was already pressing up against time because the dinner started at 7. This was like 5 o'clock, and I'm like, I'm going to get there right at the time that I'm supposed to deliver. I did it for our senior video, and that worked out. And I'm like, I've done this before, and yet, God's always been on my side. It's like, surely he's going to be on my side when it's a church event. So I end up like, I'm sitting there. Thankfully, it gets done exporting. I'm rushing to the church, and I've got to get there, and like the people are already eating dinner. And like there's a couple of speakers that are going up, and I rush in. I'm texting my friend who was kind of heading up the event, and I'm just like, "Hey, I'm on my way. I've got it done. It's finished." And she's like, "Okay, great. We can still do it. It'll be fine." So I get there, and I put the USB in the computer, pull over the file, and the freaking computer is not powerful enough to run this file. And so sure enough, it's like I've got the video done. I'm sitting there. Speakers are going. I'm trying to get this thing to play. Nothing doing. Yeah. I'm sitting there. I'm trying to even download like some kind of file converter to get it to flip it. Nothing. Yeah. It will not work.
Oh, no, we had that same problem today at work.
So but sure enough, I ended up I had to call it. I couldn't do it. It was like I couldn't run home. It was like by the time I run home, try to convert it again for one, take hours. And I literally remember I put it up on the website the next day, but I just felt completely defeated. I had spent more than 24 hours, just not 24. I spent way more than that on it, but just the last 24 hours I was cramming to get it done, and just didn't have anything to show for it, and it was totally defeating. I came home, I crashed. And I just felt awful. I felt awful because I did feel like I let my friend down, who I told that I was going to do this video. Everybody I interviewed, I, of course, was like, oh, yeah, this is going to be good. Like, I'll have all of you all in it. And, like, they were all excited to see themselves. And sure enough, we got a lot of hits on the website, and watched it on there. But especially as a creator, and this is kind of where I'm a little bit more selfish, there's nothing like sitting there watching something and seeing people's reaction to it and hoping and getting the reaction you want from it, and to not have that. Oh yeah, hell yeah, you are. When you spend that amount of time on it, I
didn't say all of us. I said you.
Yeah. Hey, Margaret's Monsters. We were all. No, we weren't. I wanted it to freaking work though, but it was just such one of those like. I knew at that point I was like, I have done this so many times. I mean, the one thing I will say is, thankfully, it was not a paid gig. It was it was literally a gift to the church to do it for them.
See, but it's still, if y'all had paid me, you would have gotten something.
Yeah. no, because then I would have felt even worse, and I would have been like, well, I probably would have still done the same thing and thought, oh, this has worked out so many times before, and now finally that it didn't work out for me, I learned my lesson. So I'll never do that again.
Never do it.
I get it done.
But the good thing is the finance committee probably approved a new computer after that.
Yeah. But we actually did get a new one up in the sanctuary, and it can play that file. Plus, I got a new computer that can export it in like 10 minutes as opposed to 2 hours.
There you go.
So a lot of things changed after that.
Technology.
Gotta love it. Yep. All right, guys. I think that's gonna do it for us here on
Yeah.
the Red Moon Podcast. So you know what we want to say?
RM
Right there on the
Podcast at
screen.
RMPodcastions.com.
Thank you. Thank
Thanks
you for watching.
Thanks for sitting through this.
Yeah, that's right.
All the preparation that goes into this, and then to have all those screw ups.
You know,
at the beginning.
yeah.
But the thing is, yeah, exactly. All the stuff that
I
goes
can't
into
say
it,
that any of the prep is on my part. It's on your part.
it is.
And then you were the one who screwed it up.
Exactly. So at least
You plug all the equipment in when you get here now.
That's
too.
true.
I put those batteries on the charger.
That's true. If you didn't do that, we would not have 2 of the shots that we go to. Our 2 cutaway shots would be completely dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's become like my new thing every week is to just plug stuff in.
Yeah.
Plug it in.
It's like
Make
last
sure we're
week,
charged up.
Brandon had you do it, so he's like, "Oh, now I never have to charge or plug anything in. I'll just
I
make
don't
Sean
have a problem
do
with
it."
that.
See, well,
I'll do
it does make it easier. Plus,
Yeah.
I hate leaving things plugged in when I leave for work.
See, he's telling you right
You
now
know?
that it's now your job every
That's
week.
fine. I've asked for more jobs. So.
See, well, here we go. We're official right
I'm
here
just
on the Red Moon
thrilled that he
Podcast.
trusts me enough to plug a battery in.
He's our official technician.
Absolutely.
yeah.
So if the battery does die one week, then we know who it falls on.
Right.
All right, guys, that is going to do it for us. But right there in the bottom of your screen, you see it right there, RM Podcast at redmoonproductions.com. Yeah, did you hear that?
Yeah,
did.
rolls
Did y'all-
off the tongue.
Silky smooth, right, Keith?
RM Podcast at redmoonproductions.com.
That's it. You
Wow.
got it. That was
It
fantastic.
rolled right off the tongue.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that is going to do it for this week. Remember, we got our Mulan review next week, so tune in
Yeah.
then Tuesday at 9 o'clock, Facebook and YouTube
I don't even know why I said
Live.
it that way. I haven't seen it yet. I don't know if it's going to be good or not.
We can only hope.
I just
We'll-
have
we'll-
a feeling.
We're trusting Sean's review, and I'm in agreement with him.
Nah, we've disagreed plenty of times.
I don't think we're
So-
going to on this one.
So until next time, I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
and
Keith Cheatham.
so until next time,
We'll see you,
you at the
movies.
movies?
I didn't do it this week.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.